What's up, YouTube? Your boy Rob, aka Card Shark. David Sklansky penned a book called Geeking, Grifting, and Gambling Through Las Vegas. It's not an autobiography, but it is stories about his life. And one of the stories he tells, which shocked some people, was that Chip Reese, who Doyle Brunson said was the greatest all-around poker player, was actually a cheat at times. It seems that Chip was the Dunes cardroom manager. The Dunes geographically was located where the Bellagio is today. And when Chip was the cardroom manager, Sklansky said before Chip that things were bad at the Dunes, like there was cheating going on. But he said after Chip, it got worse. So, but in the story, he doesn't explain why Chip did it. He hints that Chip had to do it, but he doesn't explain why he did it. And so that's what this video is about. I'm going to explain, give you a little bit of history of Las Vegas. So what were they doing at the Dunes? Well, they were switching in coolers. Coolers is a pre-stacked deck. So the mark, whoever the big chip stack is at the table, the sucker, they're going to give him a really great hand. And the cheater's partner is also going to get an even better hand. So it's a double duke. And you're going to felt the sucker. You're going to stack them. You're going to take all his chips. You're going to bust them. But you need a mechanic. And that's where Mr. D comes in. That's D-E-E. Mr. D was a mechanic at the Dunes. He was the top one. Mr. D is actually mentioned in the Steve 40 book, but he's not mentioned as Mr. D. He's mentioned by his nickname. I'm going to give you his real name. Now, Mr. D has since passed on. He got cancer. He died. But his job at the time was to false shuffle the cooler. And he was an expert at false shuffling. Mr. D also told me they were using paper at the Dunes. So I asked him, what kind of paper? And he told me they were using flash. Now, if you don't know what flash is, try to explain it to you a bit. First, let's start with shade. With shade, what you do is take aniline dye, you dilute it with alcohol, you brush a small part of the white of a card. So usually, think of a bicycle card for a second. You got all blue and white. A small part of the white you're going to brush with the solution. And what that does is it's going to dull the white. It's going to tint it a little bit, just slightly. And so with shade, you just do a little part of the card and it's a little tinted, a little darker, so hence the word shade. But at the Dunes they were using flash. Now flash is the same process, except you're going to brush the entire card and you're going to leave a small part of the white untouched. That's the flash. That's the mark. The interesting thing about flash is it can be read easier from across the table than if you were looking up close. It's kind of ironic because the sucker, when he suspects marked cards, will always examine the card up close. So always remember, when you're suspecting marked cards, there's different kinds of things you do, like the riffle test. You can hold it at different angles to light. There's different things you can do, but always remember to look at it from a distance. So anyway, in this book, Sklansky just basically says Chip was a cheat, but doesn't go into any detail and says Chip had to do it. Chip, according to Chip, he had to do it. But he doesn't explain why he had to do it. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm going to explain exactly why. So, circa 1980, we got Chip as the cardroom manager of the Dunes, and we got a psychopathic gangster running fucking wild in Las Vegas, and this man wants a piece of fucking everything, okay? This man, for example, approached Billy Baxter. Billy Baxter and Doyle Brunson were running illegal book. In fact, one day, the FBI kicked down Doyle's front door. But in any event, so one day, this gangster, and who is this gangster? Tony the Ant, a.k.a. Anthony Spilotro. Now wait a minute. Some of you may not know who Anthony Spilotro is. Did you see the movie Casino? Remember Joe Pesci, the guy who put a head in a vice and popped his fucking eye? That guy was represented, that character is based on Anthony Spilotro. And Anthony Spilotro would really do that. He was a psychopathic fucking killer. So one day Anthony comes up to Billy Baxter and says, He wants a piece of the fucking action. And Billy, without even thinking, says, Doyle is not going to like that. It's like, that right there is grounds to be killed. So Anthony Spilotro says, well, you tell that fat fucking bastard, maybe I'll see how many fucking ice picks I can stick in his fat fucking gut if he don't like it. Yeah. So now Billy and Doyle got a problem. So they go to Benny Binion. And the way Billy Baxter puts it is a man of some reputation. And that's an understatement. So in case you don't know who Benny Binion is, Benny Binion started the Horseshoe downtown Las Vegas. He hosted the first World Series of poker. He started down in Texas. He was the king bootlegger down there. He ran the #1 illegal gambling operation down there. He had mob ties. He admitted to killing 2 men. And word on the street is he killed a lot more than 2. One guy was a competitor with the nickname The Cat because he had 9 lives. But when he met Benny Binion, suddenly his 9 lives were up. The first thing Benny did, put a bomb in the man's car. But guess what? His wife started it that day, got blown to fucking bits. Do unto others before they do unto you. If the cat didn't want fucking Benny Binion dead now, so Benny is, let's put a fucking bomb in his mailbox and blows the cat up. Kaboom. Yeah, he was a bad motherfucker. Benny Binion had killers on his fucking payroll, alright? Rumor has it Benny Binion was connected all the way to the governor of Nevada. Rumor also has it Benny Binion was laundering money through the Horseshoe from the Chicago syndicate. Yeah, okay. So Billy goes to Benny Binion and says, you know, can you do something about this? Well, Spilotro on our fucking back wants to shake us down. So Benny says, I'll talk to him. So they just talk. Benny just talks to him and he just requests, you know, says, you know, there's a couple of good guys, maybe you could give them a fucking pass, you know. And so Spilotro does. Because Benny Binion's a good guy to have in on your side. You know, he's connected to the governor. You know what I mean? He's connected to the Chicago syndicate. No need to have any kind of bad blood, any kind of beef. You know, we can all be friends. And so basically what Spilotro was doing is shaking down everybody. For example, Sarge Ferris. Sarge Ferris was a high-stakes gambler. Spilotro was taking 50% of the man's win. The man won 100K, he had to give 50K to Spilotro. So it's just too fucking much. You complain about a 5% rate. You can imagine being shaken down for 50% of your win. So Sarge Ferris went to Billy Baxter, who was also a high-stakes gambler, and said, Billy, why don't we play heads up for 500K? I'll dump it to you. You keep 100K, and you return 400K to me. Well, what that does is, the next time Sarge Ferris wins $500,000, he doesn't have to give Spilotro anything because he's writing off the $500,000 debt. So instead of giving $250,000 to Spilotro, he's giving 100K to Billy. So I just want to show you, this guy was shaking down everybody and shaking him down hard. Even though Chip Reese was the cardroom manager at the Dunes, the real man behind it, Chip is like a front man. The real man is Spilotro, and Spilotro's shaking down Chip. And so Chip doesn't have a choice. It's either a case of, if you can't beat them, join them, or Chip's got to get the fuck out of town, because if you're going to stay in this town, you're going to fucking start paying Spilotro. You understand? And so Spilotro wanted the coolers in, the paper in, he's got Buddy on his fucking back, and that's that. And that is why Chip was cheating. And you got to remember, just because someone's world class at something, which of course Chip was, it doesn't make their moral compass necessarily right. You understand what I'm saying? So he probably felt justified in doing it because the high stakes action was in Vegas, and if he wanted to stay in Vegas as opposed to being in a fucking hole in the desert over there, he had to do what he had to do. So, hope you enjoyed my little story.